Things are heating up, and it is only fitting that you join us on the ground floor of what is going to be a spectacular journey. Welcome to the Trading Desk. My name is Ebube, and this is the Popcorn for Dinner podcast. In this after show series, we're going to be exploring the deeper implications of specific aspects of HBO's industry as we follow its third season weekly, building on the more detailed coverage by Bankley and Aya that drops every Sunday night right here on the Popcorn for Dinner feed, right after the industry episodes air on HBO. I will not be doing this alone, however, as I have assembled a formidable roster of guests with knowledge of business, finance, investing, and industry, the show itself. So today I am joined by my longtime friend Oseghale, whom a lot of you will remember from our coverage of The Boys and Invincible. So Oseghale, how are you feeling today? Welcome back home.
Hey man, I'm happy to be back. I was telling Mangole, I'm like, hey man, listen, I'm coming back for industry one way or the other. Like you
One
have
way
to
or the
feed,
other.
you have to feed the streets, and the streets are being fed. So yeah.
Oh, the streets are eating good. The streets are eating good because not only are we here, but wow, this show is running. This show, they are, as Ayo said, they are galloping through these plot points because my goodness, what pacing, what plot revelations, what chaos. Like, what? Is anybody safe in this show anymore?
They said nobody getting a chance to breathe. Y'all are gonna see what's going on this season forever.
Wow. What were your first impressions?
I was like, this is a very, very strong start to the season. I really enjoyed, the introduction of Henry Mock, Kit Harington. I'm like, yeah, this guy wants people to forget that he was Jon Snow.
Oh, he really does.
He's still having PTSD from that last season. He's going to put in a crazy performance this season. I can see it coming. I'm
Nah,
just,
100%.
I'm like, then all the other characters, Harper, Eric, all of them. I'm just like, wow, like these guys are still also fucked up. Like, I mean, I knew they were still gonna be fucked up. I didn't expect that to change. But I'm like, damn, they're not even like, they're even trying to better their lives. Like these are still,
They're like, we are who we are. I am a winner and I want to win, as Ibuka says. Oh my goodness, because I don't know the way the character dynamics functioned in this episode was so good, and for this episode specifically, I actually want us to talk about character introductions because this show is like a sleeper agent when it comes to them. Like, I don't think people acknowledge enough how good this show is at introducing characters, especially Henry Muck, who we'll get to soon enough. But actually, what is your own relationship with this show? Like, I know a lot of people who've been listening here have heard you on the more, I guess, for lack of a better term, edgy superhero stuff. so, so this is so I feel like this is a little bit of a change of pace for the Oseghale fans out there. So, like, how did you actually get into this show? Like, what is your own take on it? And like, I mean, do you feel any relation to it partly because of like your own background or anything like that?
I mean, man, I've been watching hella shows, man. Hella shows. So
That's
like
fair.
I remember when she first came out, I saw a trailer and I'm like, oh, like this shit looks pretty interesting. Let me
Hmm.
check it out. Watched the first episode and from there I was hooked. I was like, okay, yeah, like this is crazy because like like I mean first of all, like when I watched the show, I was thinking it was going to be based in New York because that's where all the finance bros and
Ah,
where all the
yeah,
crazy
that's
shit
true.
really be going on. So when I saw it
That's
was based in London, I'm like, are these the guys trying to tone it down? I was wrong. They were not trying to
true.
tone it down. They were not trying to tone it down. But I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like, I'm actually liking and watching the show and watching how the characters acted and behaved. It's like, okay, yeah, this is what people will be doing in real life, like in these kind of situations. It's
Yeah,
like
they're ruthless.
ruthless cutthroats and just letting their vices be on full display and leaning into their vices because they're like, this is how I'm going to get ahead. Like, this is how I do this, this
Literally.
is how I do that. And it's so funny because, again, like I used to work in consulting, right? And it's like the finance guys I worked with, like, I won't say a lot of them were like that, but there were a few of them like that. You could tell that, like in a non-professional setting,
That these guys are unhinged on
these guys,
purpose.
yeah, these guys will be they be doing some crazy, crazy stuff. So I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like this show is pretty accurate. Like I in particular didn't like experience anything industry like maybe some of my
Mhm.
friends that are like worked in like finance and stuff did. But it's like, yeah, the late hours, the crazy demands from like clients and stuff, like
Yeah.
that's all like very normal. Obviously, people had their own ways of coping with things. I'm not gonna speak for anybody. I wasn't doing all that, you feel me? But hey
Wholesome.
man, to
Keeping it
say
clean.
yeah, exactly. But to say that to say that anything that happens in the show doesn't happen in real life, hey man, that's just a flat out lie. I'm gonna tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the case. Everybody's going through so much. And as we said, the season is I'm very I think pacing is one of those things that people like casual TV watchers kind of don't appreciate as much because it really does dictate how a show feels, right? I've just come off watching House of the Dragon for 8 weeks straight, and I can tell you that one thing that people are talking about now that the show is over, both in their praise and in their criticism, a lot of it has to do with pacing. So I find it very interesting that we are moving forward and getting to know all the pieces on the board in a way that feels dynamic. And I'm worried for a few people, but I guess I should ask you, who are we rooting for this season? First of all,
First of all, man, I don't even know. Like all these guys, I can't lie. Like there's nobody suffering right now that doesn't deserve it. I'm not gonna hold you.
that's the
That,
thing.
that
That's the
that's
thing
just
with
the
this
simple
show.
truth. That's just the simple truth. Like these are not good people.
like
like,
it's like you get here by accident. Let's be real.
like
Nobody did
I
this to
like
you.
everything that's happening to Harper, Rob, Eric, like literally all of them. Is like, bro, you brought this on yourself. It's
Yeah,
like,
except maybe Yasmin to some degree
okay, yeah,
because of the
maybe
paparazzi
Yasmin.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
maybe Yasmin, but she too is like, bro, you're a nepo baby, bro. Like, come on, man. Like,
oh my
like,
gosh.
shit like this just gonna happen. So it's like I can't even say I'm rooting for anybody. I'm rooting
Uh-huh.
for the only person I'm rooting for right now is Henry Mock, Kit Harington's character, because hey, man, that's my
Because that's
guy.
your guy. That's your
That's my
guy.
guy. And I don't know how crazy he is in the show yet. So let's see what he's trying to do. Clearly, he's on some bullshit though. He's on some bullshit. I'm not gonna let
I
that
don't think
slide.
we're supposed to like him. I mean, they named him Sir Henry Muck. Like that is very telling. But okay, this episode, episode one, it was titled "The Matino al Loro in Boca," which means the morning has gold in its mouth. Um, the character introductions are very interesting because I think it's part of what makes industry as a show so good. They're very good at establishing a point of view. Um, for example, through the seasons, we have, Harper in season one, we have this introduction where like we're seeing everything through her eyes. She's not necessarily the only protagonist, but she's kind of our main point of view and she's the outsider. And
Mm.
that is fitting because we are outsiders in this world as well, from a lay perspective, because the show isn't expecting everybody who's watching the show to know everything about how the finance world works. But over time, we learn it partly through Harper's competence, right? Which I think is a big part of her character, which is, by the way, why I'm wondering if she is intentionally being incompetent in this episode so that she gets removed from this position so she can chase something she actually wants. But that's just my tinfoil hat theory. We also have Rob, who is the one who fits in. Like, we have privileged white guy, went to Oxford, he has the look, he has the voice, he has, on some level, the smoothness. He is likable. Like this world was created for him. He is designed to be an insider, but he still feels like an outsider. He still feels cursed, and he's been through so much. You have Eric, who probably started like Harper, maybe even started like DVD. These are Americans. They have had to find a ruthless sense to themselves. And now it's like, Eric is becoming someone different in this season just to fit in. He's, despite now being more emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent, he was always ruthless, but now it's like, you know, he's doing it just for giggles. Like he was never ruthless without purpose or just cause. So I don't know. Actually, what do we think? Let's stop here for a moment and actually talk about Eric. What do we think about him having to suddenly display cruelty for laughs?
Bro, Eric, don't get me wrong. Eric has always been bugging. But I feel like this season he's gonna be bugging crazy because remember
Yeah,
now he's a partner. The pressure is different. I remember when he was talking to that guy and he was like, "Bro, like this partnership came very late in your career," and I was like, I told these guys, look around the room. It looks
it's
very
very
monochromatic.
monochromatic.
And Eric is
Adler is
just like
crazy. Like, oh my god, Adler
Eric
is
is just like
crazy.
the fuck did you say to me?
Bro, literally, it's like, I'm kidding. Yo,
He's
I
like,
don't
I'm
trust
kidding.
Adler. I would
He's
not
like,
trust
yes,
Adler
Joe.
within an inch of my life. Like,
Bro,
what?
first of all, it's a general rule of mine to not trust white people generally. But Adler,
Oh my god.
that guy will kill you and sell your body. I will tell you that for free. If you trust that guy. So I feel like that's why Eric even feels that much pressure. He knows the kind of people he's dealing with. Like,
Yeah.
because their first conversation, Adler is like, bro, this Nepo baby, she got to go. He wasn't even like, oh, she got a job. She this. He's like, I already know, bro. Like,
Like,
what
yeah,
she
this
doing
is
here?
like, yeah, this one, we don't need that.
We don't need that. She gotta go. So I think Eric like displaying that cruelty is kind of a function of that also. Not like obviously not discounting the fact that like he do be bugging. But I think it's also a
Hmm.
function of that. Like he's actually feeling that pressure. He's like, okay, I'm a partner now. I have to show I can manage people. I have to show I can make tough decisions. That doesn't necessarily mean he has to do any of the dumb shit he's doing.
Hmm.
He's like, oh yeah, I need to feel among. I need these people to feel like, okay, I'm one of them. I'm one of the lions controlling the sheep.
The
Like
Lions.
literally.
Yeah, I get you. I don't know. I feel like Yasmin obviously is our focal point in this episode, right?
Mm,
A lot has been said on her. I wonder, going into this season, if they're going to kind of give us the backstory of how we got to that point where she's on that boat. Because obviously, at the end of season two, she has just poked the bear in ways that she didn't think about the implications, right? So, she doesn't have a place to stay. She doesn't have anything. Like, she's kicked out. Like, it's all going crazy for her, and her world is upside down. And now I see she's on this boat. She's like, okay, did she reconcile with her father? You know, in any significant way? And of course, she's very stressed in this episode because not only does she not have much right now, her father is missing. He, well, the
missing.
man is on the run, missing, quote unquote. We don't know what's happening to him, but there are embezzlement charges. Apparently, he's been skimming off this company's pension fund, which is, bro, you're already rich. Like, what are you doing? This is like, this is twiddling your thumbs, evil behavior. Like, what are you doing? But whatever. Um, Now people are suing her directly. She has this lawyer friend who is literally only trying to sleep with her boss. Is like, bro, I called you here to help me. She's trying to talk to Robert. There's paparazzi through her window. Henry Muck is calling her to some weird, creepy basement where he's playing fives. Like, I don't know what's going on anymore. She's very stressed. So I feel like this is also a character introduction because we're seeing a side of Yasmin that we haven't had to reckon with before. Like when we see her in season one, she's very much the one in power in most of her interactions with her peers.
Yep.
Like she comes in and decides to be, okay, I'm going to be the person who's getting coffee for everybody, which don't ever do that. Like no one asks you to do that. Don't do that. But then again, season one is about each of these people trying to figure out a way to be liked, right? Because they feel like that's how they'll stay here and survive through Riff. Except for Gus, who thinks that his skill is just going to take him through everything. And ironically, he is the one who doesn't get kept. So I feel like now seeing Yasmin in this way, looking at her in like through the lens of somebody who is desperate, and she has to also deal with Sweet Pea. Like that's that's quite a lot for anyone. So I'm curious to see how those interactions would go. Now, let's talk about Muck, right? Because in my humble opinion, TV is starting to really get its fair share of on-screen tech bros, right? It really is, and I think it's good that Kit Harington is playing this character. Like you said, he's tried to distance himself a little bit from Game of Thrones. And I've seen him in a bunch of things. Like he was in Pompeii. He voiced a character on How to Train Your Dragon. He did Criminal on Netflix. He was in Eternals. He did the show called Gunpowder. That's based on one of his ancestors. Actually, I think Kit Harington is actually descended from Robert Catesby. which is mad. Um, he was on an episode of Modern Love, which they actually referenced Game of Thrones, and they found a way to actually bring that in as a joke. So I feel like he is doing a good job here of playing a side to him that we have not seen, and that's a complex villain, a villain who isn't just villainous for villainous sake, a villain who has redeeming qualities on the surface. It's like you meet Muck and you can tell this guy is a problem,
Yep.
but you kind of want to like him, right? Like, am I wrong? How does Muck feel, and how good is Kit Harington at kind of portraying this privilege and distancing himself from everything? Because he's not Jon Snow, but he's still portraying privilege. It's like a
Yep.
different side of the same coin.
Yeah, no, again, like I said, I feel like he's doing it pretty well. Episode starts, you look at him, it's like, oh yeah, I'm an what they call it. I'm a green investor. I'm trying to do all these things to help the
Uh,
environment. You look
yeah.
at it, it's bullshit. But you're like, man, I want this guy to win, bro. Like
No,
I,
I love the little things. I love the little things because he's talking to Robert, right? That girl brings him lunch and he's smiling in her face and he takes one bite out of the thing and he throws it in trash and misses and doesn't do anything
that
about it.
doesn't do
That
anything,
tells you
literally,
everything you need to know.
bro.
Especially because later in the episode, they have somebody talking to Harper about about her disposable cups being put in the wrong place. I don't know. This is really funny to me because believe it or not, I think it was last year or something. Kid Harrington did a campaign for Make My Money Matter, like with Rose Leslie, his wife, where they're playing a couple who is in couples therapy. And then at the end of it is revealed that that couple is oil and gas and then the banks. So it's like, wow, like, was this foreshadowing for this show? Because now we know that, like, we don't necessarily know how Kid Harrington feels about ESG, environmental, social governance, but and all this quote unquote woke investing. But it's interesting that he's taking this role because clearly there is something to say. What do we know about Muck? Like, how are we able to kind of understand him quickly? Like, I know we said that he's a problem, but you know, we're talking about how the character, how the show introduces him in a very, very effective way. So, on my list of ways that the show helps us get to know him very quickly and efficiently. First of all, we can see the aristocratic background.
Mm.
James Ashford calls him Sir Henry Muck in a very mocking way, really. The fact that he's playing fives, I'm going to side with AO on this one. Like, that's a game that most people are just going to be like, what are these guys doing? And then there's the fact that he has this decidedly egotistical aversion to media scrutiny. Like what do you call that guy? Tote bag journalist. I was like, wow, that's
Yep, literally.
yeah. It's like what else do you think kind of framed Muck's persona for you in your mind as you listened?
Oh yeah, definitely. So him getting Yasmin's number, getting her personal number, and calling her and be like, "Oh, the blah blah blah."
And I
Then she
got it from
comes to,
Robert.
yeah, literally. Then she goes to meet him, and he's like, "Oh, thank you for the hands-on service." I'm like,
What does that mean?
I'm like, what does that mean, bro? Like what? And like, what's up with these rich niggas and being creepy, bro? Like, why'd you
Oh,
say that,
it's the entitlement. It's the
bro?
entitlement because I mean, even look at his source of industry. Look at the choice of industry that he's chosen to be in. It's like, bro, you could have literally you come from money. You could have made generally when people like this are starting companies in this way, is because they want to have a legacy that's separate from their own
Your own
generational
generation,
wealth,
yeah.
all that stuff, right? But and thankfully, this guy is smarter than Tech Knight. Having said that, having said that, right? He chose the one place where he felt like, okay, I'm gonna stand out in this sector. I think he said they've been doing this for 10 years and now they're about to go public.
Yeah.
He says that the exchange is one of their customers, which the fact that the London Stock Exchange is like paying them money to supply their energy, that means they have solid infrastructure on some level, which is making me kind of excited for what we'll see in episode 2 because it's like the power goes out. It's like, why does the power go out? It's like the power is going out for this company that makes this product that is failing right now
Right now,
as it's
in
trying
real
to
time.
IPO. Like this is several levels of bad, right? And and we'll get to what we're looking forward to in season 2 in a moment, but like he calls James Ashford insignificant. And that's another, for me, that was another indicator of how this guy is as a person, because it's like he views how deserving someone is of respect as a function of their direct monetary value to him, right? We
Yep.
see the way he handles the earnings reports. We see the fact that he's not interested in making himself appear better. Like it's not even like he as if he comes up with any defense when Ashford says what he says. He's just like, so he's like, so yeah, the Irishman
Yeah,
is
like
tomorrow. And so what? Like it's crazy. He's yelling in the office. Everything we've talked about here now kind of highlights his inflated sense of self. So now, right, we have woke investing, we have muck established. We've that's another thing they introduced in the episode, by the way. This idea, this concept, this sector that they're investing in. And the show did an interesting job at the end of season 2, actually having someone mention that part of the bank's 12-month plan coming up is actually to get into ESG. So the show has a way of being very timely, and I think that's part of why it helps us understand these characters more. So, like, what would you say about what we can look forward to? The title of the episode is going to be "Smoke and Mirrors," so
mm.
that already paints a picture for me. But what are your immediate questions going in? I mean, for me, I'm like, who took lights? But at the first time, at the first moment, it's like there could be so much more.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm very interested to see how Mock's empire is going to crumble, or how he's going to sustain it with his image, right? Because again, at the end of the day, that's what all this is. Like episode 2 being titled "Smoke and Mirrors" just shows that at
Mhm.
the end of the day, all this shit is a game.
Yeah,
And I feel like that's another reason Mock isn't even like, he doesn't. He knows that this is a game, bro. Like, he knows this is a game, and he knows he's a big player. So he's just here to do his thing. Obviously, he wants to come off as serious as possible and establish that legacy away from his generational wealth from catching slaves or whatever the hell he was doing.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
want to see like how those dynamics are going to play out this season, because obviously, as things go along and as he's having bumps on the road, he's going to
Mhm.
have to try and conform a little bit, but that's going to go against his base personality, which is to be a dickhead. So it's
Yeah,
going to be
an
it's
entitled dickhead.
exactly an entitled dickhead. So it's going to be fun to see how that plays out. Obviously, the him and Yasmin are going to get up to some shit this season. Like,
Yep.
clearly again, like, he could have called anybody, but he decided to call
I know,
Yasmin.
right? He's like, oh, that voice there that's like defending, that I'm hearing on the phone that's defending us. I'm like, yeah, sure, bro. You heard the pretty girl voice.
Yeah,
Just,
sure, bro.
we know who
Sure, bro.
you are. We already
Nigga
know.
called her was shirtless. Thanks for the hands-on service. All
Say, is
right.
there more to her? Is there more to her than a photo, bro? And and we don't even have time for this right now. But his uncle owns the paper that is
Bro,
destroying her life.
that is destroying her life, bro. Like, literally, I say, bro, it's all a game. It's all a game. It's just a game. Like,
Wow.
it's just a game.
The
That's
idea
all
of
it is.
Yasmin Karahanani being treated like a peasant is wild.
It's nuts. It's actually nuts. It's actually nuts.
Oh wow.
Then I have a theory that might come into play later in the season. I'm not
Okay. Okay.
100% sure, because I don't know if Yasmin has that kind of dog in her.
Hmm.
But I feel like she might have killed her dad. I feel like she might have done
Hmm.
that. I feel like she might,
Okay.
cause the way she was flashing back that episode, bro, like those flashbacks were
You know, I
violent.
I had a feeling that something else a bit more traumatic happened. And I
Hmm.
remember thinking, right, this guy, this is not the kind of show where this guy raped his daughter, right? Like this is not that show. Like, but then again, is this that show now? Like
Who
this, because
knows?
this first episode was giving, like, it was giving Succession. I can't lie. Like, it's kind of thing where something crazy will happen. Except the only difference is that in Succession, you find a way to laugh about it somehow because the way they play it off. But this show, nah, she's seriously in trouble. So I'm wondering, maybe there's something to what you're saying, because if he did try to do that, then maybe she ended up accidentally killing him. But then wouldn't people have known?
I mean, they were on a boat somewhere. It's like,
Okay.
who would have really known, right? And everybody keeps asking now,
Hmm.
oh, where's your dad? Where's your dad? She's just like, oh, I wish people would stop asking me that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Just be like, oh, yeah, they're disturbing my vibes, blah, blah, blah. Whereas it might be something more sinister. Because I'm like, bro, that was again, that whole situation on the boat was very weird. There was a
Yeah.
lot of drugs involved. There was a lot of shit going on, and
Hmm.
it's like first of all, she's already angry at her dad. Like she's already again abusing substances. The dad
Yeah.
too was already tweaking, doing whatever the hell he's doing. So it's like
Oh
anything could have
man.
really happened. So I think she might have accidentally killed him. Honestly, like I don't think she has that dog in her to have just killed him straight up. But I think she might have killed him by mistake.
That's an interesting point. Okay. I guess we'll have to look forward to whether or not that turns out to be the case. Yeah, the world is really expanding. This actually reminds me of stuff that Westworld used to do. I feel like every season there was a new lens through which to view the show's message. And I wonder if introducing more people, just because we're talking about character introductions, I wonder if these new dynamics could kind of affect the intimacy we've already built with the characters that we know, or kind of enrich them. I'm looking forward to seeing how that works. I'm looking forward to seeing, for example, how Harper ends up cozying up to Petra, because I'm sure that is a big part of her arc this season. Because Anna Gehring is Anna Gehring, I suppose, and I think Harper needs somebody that's a bit more like her. And yeah, I'm even wondering if Kenny is going to be okay, if we're going to see him again, if he's going to clap back somehow, because this was wrongful termination. Let's be real. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how all this shakes out. But for now, let's just look forward to episode 2. We'll be back here next week to do another one of these precaps right here on the trading desk, just to give us a sense of what we can look forward to, and to kind of talk about how the people as well are feeling, because the fan base is ravenous for this season. I've been seeing people online calling Eric angry. I've been seeing people just talking about the fact that Yasmin is trying to be something she's not. I mean, she literally pretends for a whole 2 seconds that she's not going to do coke. When she first said it, I was like, what are you talking about?
I
I
was like,
was like, is it me
Eric,
you're lying to?
Eric was like, Eric was like, that's not what the paper say.
Literally, no, he's unhinged for that. And then she's like, this is what I'm good at. I was like, sis, please, you're killing me here. But
Like he fully no, like it was so funny because Eric fully couldn't believe it. He's like, "Is this bitch for you right now? Like you're gonna pretend like you don't do coke? Like I've seen you in the office like
oh
that."
my god, yeah, that was absolutely wild. That was absolutely wild. But yeah, um, join us next time. Until then, be sure to check out our newsletter, which comes out monthly. This most recent issue is actually based on industry. We decided to completely psychoanalyze Harper based on her hairstyles and what they mean for her throughout the course of the show. So definitely check that out. Let us know what you think. That's going to be linked in the description. So for now, remember, as long as you're making money, you're free. See y'all later.